thought it would make sense to do a SWOT analysis on business in Costa Rica, as opposed to some of the other models that you've seen. That, I won't name, We've got a famous one right in front of us. Because we talked about Costa Rica in the Intel case. We don't believe there are any significant political changes going on in the country. Costa Rica hasn't had a standing army for decades. The only country in Central America that hasn't had some kind of coup or revolt during that time. So, socially and politically, Costa Rica is pretty stable. The locals really support ecotourism. It's very important to their country. The locals are very supportive of this because, in my opinion, I believe that they know that if people go back to their home countries, and we met people from all over the world when we were there, with stories of how the locals mistreated them or crime, then that could have a serious impact on their bottom line. So everybody was super friendly, all the guides were great, and we didn't have any problems. Everybody just wanted us to have a good time. The International Country Risk Guide ranked Costa Rica among the top 10 countries in terms of risk for investors, based on the economic, financial, and particularly the political environment of the nation. Private ownership of land is protected under Costa Rican law and by its constitution. Foreigners enjoy the same rights of ownership as locals. And the land registry system in Costa Rica is fully computerized, and it's used to record both title documents and survey plans for properties, so there isn't likely to be any border disputes between ownership. And corporate ownership is open to foreigners and locals, and everybody has the same rights of ownership, so there isn't a concern about foreign companies coming in and being forced to own less than a full percentage. The banking system is very efficient and modern, and as we've already talked about, the utilities, which are state-owned, are still very efficient. There aren't any major concerns about it. Costa Rica's major weakness is its small size, both in terms of land and population. Now, the country is almost fully saturated as it is with tourists and cannot easily support many more. Now, building a bunch of large high-rise hotels on the beach like you can see in Miami Beach or in Maui would kind of defeat the purpose of eco-friendly environment. As evidenced by the situation in Santiago, the government is having a hard time dealing with poachers and relies heavily on the support of the people and the good faith of the majority of tourists who visit. This situation doesn't scale well. So finally, what should be pretty obvious is that there's a lot of competition and differentiation among tourism companies within Costa Rica. It could be very, very different. Everybody seems to be doing pretty much the same thing. Here's our opportunity. We've noticed that most of the ecotourism service companies cater to tourists. The tours provide natural facts and photo opportunities. While these are great benefits for tourists, we feel that there is a market for taking it a step further and helping people affect change in their home countries. Costa Rica does a lot of things right with regards to environmental laws. And Costa Rica is also uniquely positioned as a developing country that has strong high tech right next to these beautiful natural environments. The bottom picture is the Intel facility just outside of San Jose, and the top picture is just a typical scene that's really not that far away. It's not very big.
Intel.
The threats to this opportunity in ecotourism in general are fairly straightforward. First and foremost, I put up the threats here, and we've got some snakes, and these are local snakes. The top one is a speckled racer, not venomous at all, no problem. You can pet him. The bottom one is a fertile ants, highly venomous, stay away. If you're going to go to Costa Rica, you don't really need to worry about this guy, but you need to worry about this one. All right, so remember what they look like. Right, and just like with threats in business, you can't avoid it if you don't know what it is. The threats in Costa Rica are pretty straightforward. There's foreign pressure to make some of these changes to the for the ownership of the state-owned enterprises, right, particularly from the U.S. Access to officials. If we're going to do kind of a regional business environment type deal in Costa Rica for just the general population, then what you would want is to be able to get a hold of these guys and get them to present to you. If you don't have access to them, then it's going to be difficult. There could also be a limited pool of consumers. Not everybody wants to take a vacation to a foreign country and spend a lot of their time, say, in an underground bunker, listening to lectures. But that's what we're doing, and we're kind of hoping that other people would want to do that as well. It might also cater to, say, older folks who might love to be in Costa Rica for a couple of weeks, but for physical reasons, aren't going to want to be traipsing around the jungle all day, every day. Furthermore, any kind of changes going back to a foreign country, if Costa Rica is forced to make changes to its state-owned enterprises, and that affects the ecotourism industry, it could be used as an argument that the only reason Costa Rica was successful was because it had these state-owned enterprises. And you're not going to be able to go back to your home country government and say, in order to make ecotourism successful here, we have to, take over all of the utilities. That's just not going to work. Finally, and I think the biggest threat is the pseudo-ecotourism. As the demand goes out, we're going to see a lot of people trying to market something that really isn't ecotourism. This could happen in Costa Rica if they build these high-rise hotels, or it could happen in neighboring countries like Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Panama, Belize. They could all offer something to, say, an uneducated travel agent or an uneducated consumer that appears to be ecotourism, but is really just taking advantage of the environment for photo opportunities and riding in a gondola through the jungle. In summary, Costa Rica is a leader in ecotourism. Right? They're the kings, synonymous with the word. There's a lot of political and economic pressure to make some changes, particularly from the U.S. Right? And these could potentially have a negative impact, though the people in Costa Rica are very much against changes in the environmental laws. That being said, I believe that there are lots of excellent opportunities there for people who are interested in ecotourism and how it develops. And I think getting in now, as these laws are changed and as the state-owned enterprises become privatized, would be a great opportunity for people to get into this market and help not only influence those companies, but the laws and the environment as well.
All right, thank you.